The flashing red and blue lights reflected off the hood of my black truck as I stood in disbelief on my own driveway. Two officers were approaching, hands resting near their holsters, while Karen, my overbearing, self-proclaimed, neighborhood safety chair, stood behind them with her arms folded and a smirk plastered across her face. She had called the police on me for blocking my own driveway. But what she didn't know was that I wasn't just any homeowner. I was a decorated, high-ranking military officer who had spent 22 years defending the very freedoms she was now trying to weaponize against me. It all started on a quiet Saturday morning. I had just returned home after 3 months overseas on classified duty. My uniform still hung in my duffel bag, folded with care, a reminder of the sacrifices made by the men and women under my command. All I wanted that day was peace, to fix up my truck, clean the garage, and maybe sit on the porch with a cup of coffee while watching the sun go down over the mountains. But peace, as it turned out, was something Karen refused to allow in this neighborhood. Karen was the kind of neighbor who believed the HOA bylaws were holy scripture. She had fined people for improperly colored mailboxes, for leaving trash bins out 2 minutes past collection, and even for having grass that didn't reflect proper community standards. I'd tolerated her nonsense before, but this time, she crossed a line. That morning, I parked my truck in front of my own driveway so I could clear out fallen branches and leaves. My property sits on a gentle slope, and moving vehicles around there is tricky. I'd been out for maybe 15 minutes when I heard it, that shrill, unmistakable voice slicing through the crisp morning air. "Excuse me, you can't park there. This is a public street," Karen shouted, marching toward me with a clipboard in hand, her phone already recording. I wiped my hands on a rag, trying to keep my composure. "Morning, Karen. This isn't a public street, it's my property. And I'm only blocking my driveway while I clear it." She gasped as if I'd confessed to a crime. "It doesn't matter. Rules are rules. You're obstructing traffic and violating community safety guidelines. I'm calling the police." I almost laughed. "You do that." And she did. 10 minutes later, 2 squad cars pulled up, sirens off but lights flashing. The neighbors started peeking through curtains. Kids stopped their bikes at the corner. Karen waved the officers down like she was directing a SWAT team into a hostage situation. "That's him," she barked. "That man is illegally blocking the road and refusing to comply." The officers approached me cautiously. "Sir, can we speak with you? We received a call about an obstruction." I nodded, keeping my tone calm. "Of course, officers. This is my home, and my vehicle is parked on my private driveway." "I'm doing maintenance." Karen interrupted. "That's a lie. This road belongs to the HOA. He's a danger to the neighborhood." I turned slowly toward her, my patience wearing thin. "Karen, I own this land, every inch from the gate to the mailbox. And last I checked, I don't answer to the HOA or to you." The officers exchanged glances. One of them asked politely for ID. I handed it over, my driver's license on top, and below it, my military identification. The officer's eyes widened when he saw the emblem and the rank. His tone shifted instantly. "Sir," he said respectfully, "thank you for your service. It appears everything checks out here. You're on private property, and there's no violation." Karen's smug expression crumbled. "Wait, what? That can't be right. He can't just." The officer held up a hand. "Ma'am, please calm down. We've confirmed he's within his rights." But Karen wasn't done. "I don't care who he is. These military types think they can do whatever they want. I'm filing a complaint." I finally stepped closer, locking eyes with her. My voice was quiet, but it carried the kind of authority that silenced a battlefield. "You've called the police on me, tried to accuse me of a crime on my own land, and disrespected the very people who ensure your freedom to stand here and speak this way. You have no idea who you're talking to." For the first time, Karen hesitated. The air shifted, the watching neighbors started whispering. One of the officers cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I suggest you stop before you dig yourself deeper. This gentleman is a commanding officer with the U.S. military. If you continue harassing him, you could be facing serious consequences for making false reports." Karen's face turned beet red. She stammered something about just doing her job, and stormed back toward her house, slamming the door hard enough to shake her porch light. The officers stayed behind a moment longer, chatting with me. They apologized for the misunderstanding and thanked me again for my service. When they left, I stood there in silence, watching the cruisers roll away. The neighborhood was quiet again, the kind of quiet that follows a storm. A few hours later, As I was putting tools back in the shed, an elderly neighbor named Mr. Lewis walked up. He was a Korean War veteran himself and had lived there longer than anyone else. Heard what happened, he said softly. Good on you for standing your ground. Karen's been terrorizing this place for years. I smiled faintly. She picked the wrong driveway today. He chuckled. Maybe now she'll think twice before barking up the wrong tree. But as the sun dipped behind the hills, I found myself reflecting, not on the confrontation, but on what it meant. So many people like Karen act out of control, fear, or the need for power in small spaces. They don't understand the weight of real responsibility, the burden of leadership, or the discipline that comes from serving something greater than oneself. The next day, I left a note in Karen's mailbox. No threats, no anger. Just a message. Greater than, Karen, I hope we can find a way to live as neighbors, not enemies. We both care about safety and order, even if we see it differently. Let's start over. She never responded, but she also never called the cops again. Weeks later, I saw her watering her garden when I passed by. She didn't say a word, but she gave me a nod, a small gesture, but it meant everything. Because in the end, strength isn't about rank, or power, or even reputation. It's about restraint, the ability to rise above and lead with respect, even when you're disrespected. And for me, that was a battle worth winning.